Welcome to Female Founder World, your favorite business platform for women. I'm Jasmine Garnsworthy. I'm the host of the show. I'm the person behind all things Female Founder World. And today I've got some brand and business tea that I wanted to unpack with you all. It's about Alix Cooper, the founder of Unwell Network, podcaster, entrepreneur, the person behind Call Her Daddy and the Unwell hydration drink. And there's a few things that we need to unpack that's been in the news lately. But first, I'm going to back up and give you a little bit of context in case you've just completely missed this one. So for those who aren't familiar, Alix Cooper started Call Her Daddy, massive podcast. It started in 2018 and was pretty much instantly a viral hit. She got a deal with Spotify pretty quickly, and then she got a deal with another distributor. Then in 2023, she launched her network. It's called Unwell Network, and basically brought in a bunch of these different creators to launch podcasts, kind of like Dear Media, but with a bit of a different tone and vibe to everything. She also launched a beverage that's kind of like girly Gatorade, I guess is the best way to describe it, and was produced by Nestle. So pretty big deal. She has been incredibly successful both as a creator, a media entrepreneur, and now in the CPG space as well. And so the thing is that Alix hasn't just been in the spotlight lately, she's really kind of taken over. And this really happened when I think she had the interview with Vice President Kamala Harris just ahead of the US presidential election. And this really tipped her over from being kind of famous amongst a very specific group of girls to being mainstream. So you've got the context. Let's get into the drama now, because there have been three main things that everyone's been talking about. And if you've been seeing this on TikTok, you've been seeing it on YouTube, and you're wondering what's going on, we're going to unpack the drama. But then I also have just my own thoughts on this and some lessons that I think that we can all take from Alix's story as well as we're building our own businesses. First up is the Alix Earle drama. Alix Earle is another massive influencer.
Hold up. I just actually had to come in and re-record this because since we originally recorded this episode, it came out that the Unwell Network has actually completely dropped Alix Earle's podcast from their roster of shows. And that is pretty big news in this space. It's just headlines at the moment. There's not a huge amount of detail about why, but of course people are speculating online.
Okay, so you've got the first one. The second thing that's really gone wrong for Alix Cooper and the Unwell Network recently has been Avery Woods. She has a podcast on the platform and has really been receiving a whole lot of hate online lately. She said some pretty, I guess, stupid things on the show. She was calling out like some of her haters. People have called her out for it on TikTok particularly. She has then issued an apology and people are not having that either. That's another thing that's been going on. But the third thing that's been happening with Alix Cooper's businesses lately, which everyone's talking about, is with her hydration drink. So a lot of her fans and people that shop the brand and who are, I guess, like those OG Call Her Daddy listeners, basically are saying that the drink doesn't have very healthy ingredients and they feel really disappointed about what's in there.
Cane sugar, caffeine dehydrates a ton of sodium. Whoa! Cane sugar, again, criminal.
So that's all the stuff that's happening at the moment, and it might not sound like much when you separate those things individually, but all together it's kind of changing this cultural tide. In Australia, we have this thing called tall poppy syndrome. It's a pretty weird name, but it's essentially, you think about a poppy, the flower, if they grow to a certain height, they're taller than everyone else and you need to get chopped down to be at the same level as everyone else. It is a very Australian egalitarian thing. And one thing that I really noticed living in the US, and I've been in New York for 10 years now, and this is not a thing in the US generally. There's this culture of celebrating ambition, which is amazing, and achievement, and you're allowed to be this person that kind of stands out and has like outsized results and a different kind of life to maybe 99% of people. But here's the catch. I think that the culture of celebrating achievement is true to people who live in the US, but I don't think it necessarily applies to women in the same way. As soon as you're a tall poppy and you're a woman, I do think that it's inevitable at some point you're going to be knocked back down to the level that people think you need to be at. And I really do think that Alix Cooper is having her tall poppy moment. The fact that there's all of this in the news at the moment about Alix Cooper, I think is also just a really good opportunity to talk about how she built this business that she did, because the last couple of years, she's really taken things to a totally new level. I think it speaks to something that isn't necessarily a trend. I think it's actually a fundamental shift in the way that we're doing business at the moment. We saw for a long time investors would fund entrepreneurs, and then entrepreneurs would give that money to a whole lot of creators to promote their businesses. And now it's kind of like it's switched, right? We have investors are giving money to these creators, and then the creators are building a bunch of their own businesses. Alix Cooper is a perfect example of this. I think as all of the barriers are kind of being broken down that always existed to building a business, now you can have a platform really easily to launch on, like Shopify or Squarespace or something like that. AI tools are making it super easy to build one woman or one man, if you're like one of the 5 men that listen to the show, teams, and be able to scale that way. And when you look at ways that you can have leverage in your business, I think that having an inbuilt audience and that inbuilt distribution is kind of the way that founders are going to be able to do that in 2025. And as it's getting easier and easier to launch a business, scale a company with AI tools, with platforms like Shopify, with even just sourcing now is becoming easier than ever. I think that as we're thinking about how do founders have leverage against competitors, it is literally the folks that have inbuilt audiences for distribution that seem to have the unfair advantage. And Alix Cooper is a perfect example of someone who's been able to do that. And I really think that audience is going to be the ultimate way to have leverage as a founder in 2025 and beyond that as well. Another thing that I find super interesting about Alix Cooper and Call Her Daddy, and maybe this is because I work in media as well, but she has been one of the few creators that has been able to build a creator-led business without it being all about her and her name. She has lent her personality and her vision and her voice to build a media brand that is separate to her and that is so much more scalable than just building a TikTok or Instagram following under your own personal name and then trying to kind of like start a business out of that. She set it up from the beginning that she was building this media product and media ecosystem that became Call Her Daddy, that allowed her to then, I guess, leverage that success and start the network and start the products that all fit within that brand. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a quick one. It was a different one today. The one thing that I ask you to do if you did love it is to share it with someone. If you're someone who makes content on the internet, maybe share it there. If you're someone who wants to send this in a group chat, I'd love that too. See you next time.